Who's up? Who's down?
Josh, who's your up for this week?
My up this week is Peacock. Austin, we saw, kind of combined with the NFL, we saw Peacock land this new NFL game on Friday night to open the season. I believe it's September 6th. Following that Thursday night game, you'll have the Eagles. It's been kind of reported that the Browns are probably going to be their opponent for that game in Brazil. We obviously saw the success that Peacock and the NFL had with that Chiefs-Dolphins wildcard game in January. 23 million viewers, I think they had. An earlier game, week 16 of last year, I think Peacock drew about 7.2 million viewers for that game. Peacock only has the rights to one regular season game this upcoming season. So what do? They go from week 16 last year, they go to week 1 this year, prime, team like the Eagles against the Browns, a team that is kind of polarizing. Everyone wants to watch the Browns seemingly. So it'll be really interesting to see the kind of numbers that game draws on Peacock. You and I were kind of talking earlier. I think 10 million would be a nice kind of goal, a benchmark to shoot for.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with that. But I think it's a strong kind of start for Peacock as we head toward next NFL season.
No, I agree. But I definitely think if it's opening weekend for the NFL, you got to come out of the gate strong. You can't get fewer than 10 million viewers for that. But Peacock has shown for a big event that they can do it. So I do think they're going to hit that mark pretty easily. Josh, my up for this week is the NCAA. Coming out of the first 2 rounds and the first 4, both the men's and the women's basketball tournaments saw impressive gains. And not only that, but they maintained some of their blue blood and marquee names. On the women's side, you still got Iowa and Caitlin Clark. You still have some of the bigger schools like Stanford and UConn. It's going to be a really interesting Sweet 16 and Elite 8 there. And also on the men's side, you have the Dukes and the Carolinas, and you have UConn, and you have some of these bigger names. It feels like there's just not as many upsets this year headed into the Sweet 16, and I think that's what the NCAA wanted. The final this year going to be on Turner, so you have TBS, TNT, True TV going to be showing that final. But I think if you get some of those bigger names, you are going to see an uptick over what San Diego State, UConn got last year. Josh, my down for this week is Greg Sankey. Greg was making a lot of bold statements about SEC basketball, especially on the men's side. Headed into the tournament, they had 8 selections. It was the most of any conference. And you had conferences like the Big East getting a lot of their schools shut out. Well, here we are, headed into the Sweet 16. You got all 3 Big East teams made it, 4 teams from the ACC, and the SEC only has 2 remaining on the men's side. So I think that he got put the cart a little too far ahead of the horse in terms of what the SEC really is in basketball right now. I think those other conferences are still stronger and maybe even better TV draws. I think Greg Sankey's really going to have to hang his hat on what LSU and South Carolina can do on the women's side. They're still powerful in that tournament. Josh, who do you have for your down?
My down, and people who follow me closely, not surprised to say this, it's the PGA Tour and the status of their viewership this season. Last year they saw a ton of success early in kind of Q1 around their ratings, around their designated signature event model. Viewership almost every week for all of those signature events were up. And this year, frankly, the viewership has not been there. The last year-over-year viewership increase they had for a Sunday round was the Amex in late January. So we're now almost 8 weeks on from that event, the last time they saw a year-over-year increase on a Sunday. There's a number of contributing factors. Several stars have gone to LIV Golf. They're not there anymore. It also could be, Austin, just the fact that people are tired of kind of this ongoing fight between LIV and the PGA Tour. And they're just tired of watching golf. I mean, you look last week, Players Championship in Ponte Vedra, you really couldn't have asked for a better scenario. You had Scottie Scheffler, you had Wyndham Clark, you had Brian Harman, the defending Open champion, you had Xander Schauffele, one of the top players in the game, all right there. A one-shot win for Scheffler came from, I think, 6 behind on Sunday to win. Could not have asked for a better setup, a dream setup, and viewership was down 30% year over year. Last week, Valspar Championship, Peter Malnati, great human interest story, really kind of tugged at the heartstrings seeing him win his first event in 9 years, get to the Masters for the first time in a couple weeks. But one of the trends that you've seen this year is some of those stars have not been living up to the hype. They haven't been winning. You've had Scheffler win twice. You've had Wyndham Clark win a rain-shortened event, but you've seen some of these lesser-known guys win tournaments And while that's a great human interest story, it doesn't necessarily always translate to TV viewership. So it's going to be really interesting to see going forward kind of how that projects, really as the tour gets into kind of Q2 of their season.